Okay.
Okay. And we're not... There we go.
Welcome to for the first time, to the CWF podcast, Backstage, episode 2. How are we?
All right.
Do we sound like we're coming through a phone for no particular reason?
Yeah, we should come out with regular audio.
I think this should be the regular audio, and hopefully it's sounding pretty good right now.
VV Senpai, is it working?
Yes.
VV Senpai, is it working?
VV and the captain, oi, Philippines, is also saying that the audio is very good.
Wonderful.
That's good. That's great.
There we go.
Perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of the CWF Backstage. This sounds like a... Yeah. So the issue was previously we were capturing the desktop audio through an actual microphone instead of actually capturing the desktop audio proper. But now we are capturing the desktop audio proper, so we can officially say this stream is 100% scuff free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go. Zero scuff. So
okay.
As I was saying, we have the one, the only, one of the most epic performers the CWF has ever seen. Multi-time champion, multi-time supernova champion, multi-time tag team champion. The one, the only, Danielson!
Hey guys, really happy to be here. Gosh, I was back when there was CWF Backstage past the OG version, but really love the enthusiasm and love the intro.
Yeah, I found out, oh, by the way, we should probably reintroduce ourselves. I am the Glorious Omni with my boy, my co-host.
Yo, everybody, it's me, your boy, Azure Mage. How y'all doing?
Scuff does add flavor, but I'm a white boy and I don't understand what the word flavor means.
Look, you give this man like any Szechuan pepper, he'd probably just go numb and turn gray.
Probably, it's gonna taste good. So, so Daniel, my boy, a little fact. I didn't put the names on the screen because I'm lazy. So,
okay.
So Daniel, you are actually the man who got me into CWF. We ended up meeting. We met at the end of Anime California.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are now.
What show was I? What was I at that show?
You were Professor Chaos.
I was Professor Chaos. I had that outfit. I was the only time I was ever Professor Chaos from South Park. It was believe it or not, that was the very first time I interacted with a screen as if I was really doing it.
Really?
And let's call that the prototype era.
Hey, look, just real talk. Everybody has a prototype era.
Yep.
In whenever they're entering for CWF for the first time, and it's funny.
It really is. Yeah. It's great. It's great.
Also, apparently, you guys are now white Goku and mashed potatoes.
White Goku. No, I am American Goku. Thank you very much. Actually, yeah, he is white.
He is very white.
He's very white, yes.
He is very white.
I'm actually running low on these. I still have a few copies left of this. Okay. That said, I think I personally made this way more expensive than it actually is now. This right here, I bought like a batch of 7 of these way back, like
this man is single-handedly keeping Dragon Ball Evolution alive.
It was like $1.40, $1.70 per Blu-ray. Now they're going for over $10.
Oh my god, the inflation!
Yeah, but like I think this is like my last real. I think I have a copy from like Blockbuster. Shows my age, but
wow.
I think this is my last actual copy, and it was one that had been stomped on before, so the bottom's like completely smashed, and even though it's still sealed properly, I can kind of still pull out the digital copy.
Here's the new plan. Azure, we're going to invest in Dragon Ball Evolution because we're going to take it to the moon. We're going to take it to the moon.
Hold on. Omni, I really don't want to do that because I remember that specific copy was opened after our show at Anime LA, which was my birthday, and Daniel's birthday gift to me was watching all of Dragon Ball Evolution in his goddamn hotel room.
The first half of the movie is genuinely so bad it's good, and then it tries to take itself seriously in the middle third act of the thing. But I'm like, that first half of that film is just so funny to me. It's just great.
I've actually never seen it. I watched the CinemaSins on it, but I've never actually seen the whole thing.
So here's the thing. The whole reason that American Goku came, I guess we'll just start with American Goku. The whole reason American Goku came out is because of a con called Neo Anime Oasis in Idaho. It was like 2022, like January or something. And they posted this is the last Neo Anime Oasis, and for this con, you are not allowed to cosplay as live action anime characters. This is an anime con. You are not allowed to cosplay. I'm like, that's insane to me. Like they said you can't cosplay as Marvel. You can't cosplay as DC characters or stuff like that. They said the exceptions we have are you can cosplay as Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because that's inspired, but you cannot cosplay as live action adaptation. So you cannot cosplay as the Scarlett Johansson Ghost in the Shell. You cannot cosplay as the Last Airbender version of the Last Airbender. And you cannot cosplay as Dragon Ball Evolution. And I'm just like, I had a plan going into SakuraCon, and I'm like, can I find this cosplay somewhere online? And apparently I did. Whoever it did had the pattern still probably in a drawer, dusty, hadn't been touched in 15 years. Probably blew it off like a Indiana Jones artifact. And all of a sudden it's it's the most comfortable cosplay I've ever worn in my life. And I just feel so good wearing that cosplay. It's the thank you Neo Anime Oasis in Idaho for making this happen, because if you didn't make this post and going kind of viral within a couple people I knew, this would not have happened.
Yeah, I remember insane. That entire con floated around the entire cosplay scene for a good few months, and it was completely lambasted.
I've never heard of that. That's one of the wild things, because one of my favorite con memories. It was my very first Anime Expo, and I was kind of taking him. This is my first time around cosplayers in general. And I remember seeing the Sultan from Aladdin, and I was just like, "It's the Sultan!" So I did the bow and everything. He was like, "No need, Sonny Boy," or something like that, the perfect Sultan voice. And that's Aladdin of all freaking things.
Yeah, it's cosplay. It's you be who you want. And I will say this: after them getting lambasted, after I had already placed the order for the costume, they did change it to. You can only you cannot cosplay anything only entering the cosplay contest or the masquerade. They said, but you still couldn't cosplay as these characters outside of the if you want to enter cosplay contest, you could not be any non-anime character.
That's so dumb.
Yeah. Actually, I do have a funny story when you introduced American Goku, and it was after our show. We were walking around. You were walking around as American Goku. I believe was I Bandit Keith that day, or was I Sans? I just remember we're walking around the dealer's hall of Anime Vegas, and
yes. Oh god. Yeah. Okay, you were Bandit Keith. You were Bandit Keith for this one.
Yeah, so we walk past these 3 black guys.
It was 5 black guys all wearing like one-piece hats. This was in what was it, Anime Vegas, I think.
Anime Vegas.
Was this in
Anime
Vegas?
Las Vegas. Okay.
I don't think I heard this story.
Go ahead and tell the story.
So they walk past us, but then they double take. And first off, they're like, oh shit, it's Ben and Keith. And then they look and they all like their faces dropped. And like, oh shit, it's American Goku.
But the kicker line, are you gonna say that?
You want to do it since it was towards you?
Okay, I will say it. Again, I'm not gonna say any bad words. But the guy looks at me and says, This is more offensive than saying the N-word.
Yeah. I couldn't help but laugh because Jesus, it was so good.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So yeah, a group of 5, and they literally say, and I'm just like, that is the craziest thing I've ever experienced in this outfit. So I'm honestly garnering a lot of hate, but at the same time, it's not like it's all fun and jest. So it's like I could tell like they're like, we're all having a good time there.
That reminds me. I came across something similar. So I think I told you guys I went to All In, the first All In, the Bullet Club ran All In show. And Daniel, as you know, that was in the middle of peak Roman Reigns, we can't stand him era. Yeah. And there was somebody cosplaying Roman Reigns at All In. So it was a sea of Bullet Club and Be the Elite shirts and one Roman Reigns. And I'm like, you are the bravest man in Chicago. And he's like, you're damn right I am. I've gotten so much hate and I've loved every minute of it. Yeah. So this is actually a really good tangent into so we did we're trying to be professional. We have a couple questions for you, and there's actually a good tangent into our first question. So what has your favorite character been to perform?
Oh gosh. I think I sent you a list of like all the characters I've been.
It was a very long list.
You know what? I'm actually going to look at it because I have a little thing for all of them.
Okay. So I have your list right here is Yami Yugi, Jotaro Kujo, Skeletor / Skeleton God / the Great Papyrus. They are all different versions of the same character. Professor Chaos, Mr. Budokai, the announcer from Dragon Ball Z, Super Frankie, Beavis and Butthead, and from the movie...
At the same time.
From the movies, Professor Ivo Robotnik, and, oh shit, jumps back after 3 minutes, American Goku. That's right.
That's right. I almost forgot. I'm like, I wrote down so many characters. I'm like, oh shit, that's right. America. Like it was like up in like the Google Doc you sent me to like, okay, do. Oh right, I forgot. As far as favorite character, I think I got to go with Skeletor, honestly, because I was driving around. I had been Yami Yugi, had been Jotaro at that point. I'm looking for like a new character that'd be fun, and I'm just kind of like quoting Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged at the time. And at the time, I'm doing like. Foolish fool! Yes, it's me, Yami, or it's me, like Madagishtar. And I'm like, wait a minute. It kind of sounds like Madagishtar. Wait a minute. This kind of sounds like Skeletor. I can just keep doing this. I'm just looping around the LAX parking lot. The big circle. The way you pick up my sister from the airport. So I'm just doing like random lines as I am the great mighty Skeletor. Look at me. I will become the CWF champion. Take that. Phoenix Wright. That's right. I think Phoenix Wright was the champion at the time.
I can just only imagine every corner you turn. I just hear, yeah. Yeah.
So yes, Skeletor is easily my favorite character that I've been. Nice. That said, like eventually, I was a champion, and I had successfully defended 2 shows, and then COVID hit, and then during COVID they released a new series called Master of the Universe Revelation on Master of the Universe Revelation on Netflix. And I'm like, oh, cool, Skeletor's in it. I get to watch some cool bits. in the first episode, he's killed off. I'm like, okay. And they kill off He-Man too. So I'm like, what are we doing? What? This wasn't advertised at all. So I'm watching it begrudgingly, like, okay, it's the Tila show. Okay. I mean, to be fair, I don't really watch. I never really watched He-Man growing up either. I just kind of like watched a lot of like Skeletor clips and like Robot Chicken and stuff like that. But eventually, episode 5 came out, and it was the Skeletor was actually hidden, like he had hidden himself inside of his staff that they were like carrying around for the whole season. When it was like, oh, he was like wounded, but he wasn't actually killed. So he like pops out at the last moment, stabs He-Man in the back, who's all comes back from the life, who comes back to life, pulls the sword out, grabs the sword, raises it to the heavens, and yells, "I have the power!" And then he transforms into Skelegod. And one of my all-time favorite pictures of that
picture is so good.
The picture it's my Facebook profile picture of him just fully transformed, like above the castle, saying, "I, Skeletor, am master of the universe."
Actually, let me see. Yeah,
self-conscious with my my housemates who are probably listening to all this right now. But yeah, so for Fanime 2023, I think it was when we all got back from COVID. I think I'm the very first person who ever cosplay as Skelegod, which is him like fully transformed. So I had like the giant shoulder pauldrons, had a giant helmet, a cape. I was even more buff, gauntlets. Had the sword in one hand, I had the belt in the other. I'm like, oh man, I just feel so cool. And I was wearing like a buff suit underneath another buff suit, and then like a Zentai suit on top of that. So I tried to like add a lot of bulk. And eventually that character became Papyrus. And I gotta say, I love Papyrus. Papyrus is my least favorite costume to wear. Wearing a Zentai on your skin is just like, it just feels so gross.
All right,
and I can't use my phone. I can't use my laptop. I'm like, nah.
I remember when we're walking around as Sans and Papyrus.
I got the Skelegod.
Oh, you got the picture.
I got the picture on the screen right there. Yeah. Dude, I remember when you were telling me about I didn't even know about Skelegod or anything like that, but I remember you showed me the picture, and I was like, you're going to cosplay that? That's amazing. And then I remember you like busted all the pieces out at it was ALA, I think it was, or was it? Yeah. I was like, oh my god, the entrance was so good, dude. Like, I loved it.
So the funny thing about Skelegod is he's like essentially the final boss. And at that time when I was Skelegod, you can leave on screen for a little bit because I got a little story about him.
Okay, I'll put it
Skelegod
back.
is basically 0-3 in CWF. I enter him like he's defending the belt at Fanime. He's been champion for 3 years. I go as Skelegod, and I lose to Bayonetta instantly.
Bayonetta.
Then I'm like, okay, AX is happening, but we're still kind of like under COVID restriction, and AX changed their policy, so the Bayonetta was unable to attend because they changed the policy, and it's like 5 weeks after. I'm like, okay, what can we do? What can we do? Oh, I have an idea. I'm also the Supernova champion, kind of like what you are right now, where you're like the heavyweight and the Supernova. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'll just defend the Supernova and just do it again. And I lose again to Spicy Burrito, so I'm 0-2. Then later on, like in ALA 2023, we're guests of honor. So what we do is we want to have a little. We're on the opening ceremony stage. I come out as Skelegod, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like, I get to come out. The audience is like, whoa, that's really cool. I'm with the like Wario and Waluigi, who are like rock stars at this point. They're the kings of walk and roll.
That's right.
And I cut this cool, like, a promo just to like give the audience a taste who aren't familiar with us. And I'm like, cheer for me. And eventually they cheer really, really loud. So I'm like, I'm going to lie and be like, no, that wasn't good enough. That wasn't good enough for me. I am the former CWF heavyweight champion. I will be the future heavyweight champion. I am the mighty. And then Mario comes up, hits me with a chair, hits me again on the back. And I kind of like slide off the catwalk. Finishes the promo, cuts it off. I'm like, that went over pretty well. And we find out that one of the guests of honor, who is a Japanese animator by the name of Mamoru Yokota, who has animated several things from One Piece to Naruto to the Dragon Quest series. Like he was like one of the lead animators for Yuta from like One Piece film Red. And she's like, hey, I love it. I love pro wrestling. Can I be involved in the show? And we're like, you know, we're not actually wrestling, right? He's like, okay, yeah. Just, whatever you need me to do, I like it. So during our show, instead of me competing as Skelegod, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show up in crutches and like a sling and be like, I was maliciously and unprovokingly attacked. And I am the greatest guest of honor who's ever been at this age. And I challenge anyone to come, who's bigger than me to fight me on this stage. And then Memoria, I make a Titantron that morning. Oh, I'll bring up Titantrons later. And so he comes out, he gives me the lightest chair shot in the world in the back, and I have to sell it. And then another one like, and then he pokes me in the butt and kind of like runs away. Yeah. It was Mario's chair, but he did a custom image on the chair of him like doing like comedic run away and me just doing like, look as Skelegod. So yeah, Skelegod is 0-3 in CWF, but he's fun. He's in a bid. It has been moved for like 2 years, but he's
no. When Skeletor makes his comeback, it's gonna be huge. Like it's like when Daniel says, "All right, I'm doing Skeletor this year" and stuff like that, I don't think anybody on the roster is gonna actually like really try because it's such an insane your Skeletor is hard to beat.
It's a lot of fun, and the thing is, I've done Jotaro Kuja, so I talk like this. Basically, Rocky Balboa or Sylvester Stallone. And doing that voice is actually way harder on my vocal cords because I can do Skeletor all day. That doesn't hurt at all. But doing Jotaro, you can actually see in my neck.
Oh yeah, the strain.
Oh yeah, look at those flexes.
Whenever I talk, look at that flex. It actually does hurt after a while. To the point where at Queen State Anime Con one year as Jotaro, I literally couldn't do the voice anymore at the end of like the back and forth, so I literally take the mic and I shove it in G's chest, be like, end this for the final round.
Oh, was that you versus Spicy?
It was me versus Spicy. It was the same show as Skeletor versus Hughes.
Yeah.
Because I pulled like double duty for that show.
That's right.
I pulled double duty for a lot of shows actually, including this past ALA Night 1, which I guess we can jump into because talking VTubers and such.
Right.
Yep.
Big shout out to, I don't even think I should use his real name, but we have a guy.
Just say Takahata.
Takahata 101.
No. The guy who got us like our friend in CWF who's
Oh, you mean Clawmaster?
Clawmaster. Clawmaster is really big in the VTuber scene, and apparently he had talked with Team 4-Star alumni Takahata 101, who'd done Cell and Dende and Guru and Nappa. He was also Red 13 and Machine Abridged. And he's like, hey, he saw like our show and he wants to know if he wants me involved, just hit him up. So we have this cool idea. So I'm like, I could do something with American Goku with him. And I basically pitched 3 ideas to him. It was either he comes out, I interrupt his American Goku, and he, says, well, I can't, I'm not there right now, but this guy is, and then have like, I don't know, a Shadow the Hedgehog come out and like 1v1 fight and for example, and then he beats me and it's like, hey, way to go, good job. Or it could be like VTuber, me back and forth with him. And then the third most like ambitious one is I fight 3 of his Team 4-Star characters. And so I'm like doing crazy editing. I'm also in charge of basically show running the shows, but I am so proud how that turned out. We had like one tiny hiccup at the start with the audio guy just left and then came back. Okay. I'm gonna address the crowd. Yeet. No, I host the Royal Rumble party, and Omni was there, and it was awesome. We were shocked.
I'm super hyped.
Came out.
I'm super hyped.
Yeah, but it was great experience. I felt like oh shoot, I'm actually talking with Takahata 101. This is awesome. But got that starstruck is a word.
I can imagine. I was pulling double duty for that show as well too. And I made it a point to make sure I got all of my stuff done and taken care of before that because I was really excited. I went and found a seat in the crowd so I could watch like your segment with Taka 101, and the way you put that whole thing together. What was the thought process between like doing things the way that we did it versus some other like method with like different slides and everything?
What I wanted to do was I wanted to maximize what.
Now I know this guy's
I wanted to
actually
maximize cheers. I wanted basically whatever. Every time that he said a line, I wanted him to get cheered or have a laugh or a fun response. Or basically, I know how the crowd reacts to certain things because live theater is one thing that can't be replicated. It's basically CWF is basically it's basically just live theater. You get reaction from the crowd and you can actually interact with them. It's like nothing you can do before. Like there's a guy in the chat right now who's angry that Jey Uso won, but this is actually a perfect example because I went to the Raw debut. You went to the Raw debut.
He just said that Logan Paul should have won the Rumble, so I'm not really sure if we can,
Anyway,
like
the whole point is being involved with the entrance and just like you feel like you're part of the show, which is what CWF is. And that's awesome because you really do feel like a superstar. You feel like you are the guy who is dictating the cheers, dictating the boos, in which case this time I'm like, I know exactly how I want the audience to react for both versions of the Taka stuff and my stuff. And I want to make him shine as good as possible. And the pop that Nappa got when he said "Yes, I can,"
that was like, awesome.
There was a point where I'm like, I'm like editing. I'm like, I'm gonna cut the slide there because I'm pretty sure that's where a pop is going to happen. So I want to let that sink in instead of him just like going to another line. I'm like, I'm gonna pause that. And sure enough, it was like a 12 seconds before the next thing played.
Yep.
But God, it was a lot of fun. And
that was
10
awesome.
out of 10 would do again. But Jesus Christ,
yeah.
that was
that was a process.
Sport Boy, thank you for the Prime sub. You are the man, and I look forward to seeing you in one-on-one combat soon.
And but yeah, no, like everybody loved that bit on night one, and like even getting the comment of, wait a minute, that was controlled? I thought that was live.
Yeah, so many people thought it was a live segment.
That was honestly, as the writer, director, producer, and actor, that's probably the best comment that I can get. Is that I didn't know that was live, when in reality I'm like, the fact that you didn't know means that I did my job perfectly, and I'm so glad how the final result came out. And it was great.
So yeah, I actually wanted to chime in, and yeah, you're right. Like live theater is very hard to replicate. And also, like, whenever people ask, like, what actually is CWF? It's like, oh, we're technically a improv comedy troupe.
That's pretty much that's pretty accurate. I know.
Sorry. I always describe it as we are a professional wrestling inspired shit talking competition.
That's pretty accurate too. Yeah, it's almost like a roast off, but you can also get cheered. Like it's also one major thing that I personally do for every one of my characters is I try to create a chant that the audience can be involved with. So yeet is that for Yami Yugi it was King of Games. For Jotaro I had everyone just shout while doing the fists, and for Skeletor it's Skeletor with their arms, so like this, so they're involved, so the audience feels the energy, they're part of the show, they're chanting your name. American Goku doesn't have any of that.
No.
Well, I mean, it kind of just turned into Not My Goku.
That's true. Not My Goku's kind of the thing now. Yeah.
Not My Goku is now my chant. Yeah. And then and I respond back with, yes, I am.
It's so good. Dude.
Actually, you know what? It's funny because that actually segues into our next question.
Yep.
What goes into your decisions for what character you want to perform as?
Okay. For this question, it's I like being characters that are easily recognizable to the common person. I mean, while would love to be Reen Schwarzer from Trails of Cold Steel 3, I don't think anyone's going to know Reen Schwarzer from Trails of Cold Steel 3, or, a very small niche audience. Or like I'm gonna be Gileath Osborne from Cold Steel 4. Like, oh boy, I love the character. No one's gonna know who the character is, so I try to stick with characters that people kind of know. So I'm like, okay, Skeletor. I don't think I've sat down and watched an entire episode from start to finish of Masters of the Universe, but I think everyone knows who Skeletor is, from Robot Chicken to like Family Guy to Geico commercials to just the character in general being on like in Hot Topic shirts, just going, nah. Just everyone knows Skeletor is. Yami Yugi, face of Yu-Gi-Oh! Jotaro, probably the most famous Joestar of them all. Beavis and Butthead was just a fun thing for Hentai Matsuri, where I just went like, yeah, want to be both of them? When it's, I was literally cut the costume down the middle. I was meta DC, blonde hair, brown hair, wearing gym shorts that were like 2 different colors and 2 different shoes. Wait, no, they had the same shoes. They had different socks, I think.
Yeah. I remember the lead up to that con. You were freaking. I was like, "Is this shirt gonna show up in time? Is this shirt gonna show up in time? I don't know."
Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah. So the costumes didn't arrive until like Tuesday, and I had to go to like my sister's and be like, "Hey, can you help me sew this? Like, sew the wig together." I don't know how to sew a wig. Like, cut a wig in half. Like, it's one of those cheap, party wigs. But the whole costume was like, $35 for each. So I was like, yeah, let's just go for it. I'm just kind of.
So just answering to the chat. So yeah, every show that we are accepted to be part of, we put out an application. It's an open, like when the application goes out, it's actually open to the public. So whoever wants to participate in the show of that convention or event, they can fill out the application. And then you literally have free reign of what character that you can enter as.
You decide your character, you decide how you're going to portray that character, you decide your theme music, you decide if you're going to have people like walking on stage with you. Basically, for the most part, everything is free reign. Even how you portray the character. So, like, for example, Daniel was going into, some of his thought process as well, too. We've got one performer, the guy who plays Super Mario. Basically, what he does is he takes a professional wrestler's personnel like Hulk Hogan and applies a Mario coat of paint to that. So he's coming out all super like cocky, like, it's me, Mario. I'm number 1. I'm player 1, the best there is. Kind of like sort of not how Mario's portrayed in any kind of, other media, really. So my Shadow the Hedgehog is a Latina lover because I'm a man of culture. Which makes it even better that I cosplay Shadow the Hedgehog with the Latina meme because my wife is Colombian. It's
perfect.
It's so perfect.
But as far as the application process goes, usually as soon as we get accepted, because we send out applications to several cons like all the time. Like right now we have several that we've applied to, including like I think I'm this coming couple days I'm applying to Anime Expo to try to get in there. We've applied to Fanime. Let's use this as an example. I've applied to Fangia. Fangia is like a smaller con in San Diego, where it also hosts Hentai Matsuri, and San Diego Anime Con is like a third one. I've applied to that. As soon as we get accepted, we'll put up like, hey guys, we're going to be at Fangia. We're going to host, it's like, if you would like to apply to be a part of the show, here's a Google Doc link to like fill out your application, like your name, your character's like where your character's from, where your character weighs. So like, and when I say character weight, I'm like weighing in at over 9,000 copies of Dragon Ball Evolution on Blu-ray, hailing from the Saiyan homeworld of Hollywood, California. It's American Goku.
Yeah, or like whenever the weight question gets asked, some of the entries just go, "How dare you?"
Yeah.
I think my Maze Hughes is weighing in all of the immeasurable weight of his love for his baby girl or something like that.
Exactly. But like when pro wrestlers come out, they always say like where they're from and what their weight is and then their name. But I'm like, it's a CWF show.
Yeah.
We can be silly with it. Sure, you can be like weighing in at 299 pounds. It's Skeletor.
Yeah. Well,
I think I don't actually have anything silly for Skeletor. I have something silly for Papyrus, but I don't have anything silly for Skeletor.
No, I didn't do anything silly for Shadow. So
yeah, it's entirely up to you.
Going into that, like, just since we're all talking about like how the application process goes, it like my thought process for whenever I enter into any of the shows, I don't ever plan on winning the belt. All of my entries are literally joke characters that are just gonna be there, like Zubaz.
Zubaz
is 100%.
The storm is coming.
Yeah, he's just there to show up looking like a 90s tough guy motorcyclist, gonna spout out stuff about how he tried to enter into any other video game that is mainstream and then never makes it. Or yeah, just so you can enter, like, the thought process of applying is like, oh yeah, sure, you could go for the belt, or you just go for the other side, which is always nice. What is that? Entertainment time.
Yep. Do any of us do
and
wrestling?
Going back to answering from the chat, as far as the cast members who've actually wrestled and did wrestling classes, Daniel did a couple.
He has had some wrestling training.
So, we've had two people who have actually done actual like wrestling in CW. Well, actually a few more, but I'm just gonna stick with the main cast. Our Phoenix Wright had done wrestling like minor indie shows, and our Mario started off as a manager, then eventually he did like a run-in, and then he did like a short match, then like a tag match, and then basically he was doing a few. Originally, we were partnered with a
Sailor Moon is actually a professional wrestler.
Sacramento. Oh, that's right. Yes, of course, Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon's actor. She's actually an indie wrestler.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Phoenix Wright.
Yes, Phoenix Wright. I was in talks with Sac Anime Supreme Pro Wrestling, and it was going to be. We had actually worked out a thing where Skeletor and Mario may have done like a short, like 7-8 minute match, just like we're hitting all the high spots. So I actually did a couple wrestling training sessions at SoCal Pro, and basically they said, "Why do you want to be a wrestler?" I'm like, "Because I've been booked to be in a show as a character, and I need to know the basics." They're like, "Well, you're doing this in reverse, but awesome." I'm like, "I've already been booked." Unfortunately, the match was going to be in 2020. It's Sac Anime, and because it was 2020 Sac Anime, there was like a lot of like, is this con going to happen? Are they going to allow pro wrestling to be there because of like the looming threat of what's happening with COVID? It ended up not, but I didn't know until like the Monday before the con is when they finally said we can't run it. So it was like, oh man, that never happened. So that was one of the biggest like, oh man, it happens in life sort of thing. And then, COVID hits, and then, it's 4 or 5 years later. So it's like, I don't think it's ever going to happen. But, it would have been nice just to look back on. But it doesn't look like it's in the cards anymore.
Yeah. It's still cool that you even got close to that.
Well, also, eventually, you and Mario and Skeletor did have a in-ring match. And I believe that was Stockton Con, right?
It wasn't like a match. It's more like it was the lead up to the match, in that I was going to we were in a ring, we were cutting promos, and then he'd get a roll up to win the 24/7 belt, and then I kind of like hit him with my staff, which like one of my funnest things for Skeletor is that I have a kendo stick, but I wrap it in purple wrapping paper and put like a skull head on it to make it look like the staff. So I hit him once, I rip off the wrapping paper, take the skull off so it's a kendo stick, and I whack him with it. And then,
Nice.
I'm cutting my promo. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I got past AX security, and they're just like, what's in here? I'm just like, oh, it's just Wood. Okay.
Let's go.
By God, he's got a kendo stick.
Oh man. Oh, that was good. So, how about Daniel? Daniel, are you feeling up to another question?
Let's do another question. Yeah.
How about an opinion?
Oh, okay.
So, what is your favorite CWF moment? And if possible, I'd like two. One that's including you, and one that's not including you. And out of those two, which one's your big favorite?
Okay, I actually have an answer for this one.
Wonderful. Let's hear it.
My favorite moment in CWF is Fanimania 3 in 2016. Fanimania 16, I'm going to roll back a little bit. AX 2015, I'm in the finals of the AX show. So it's like the second AX show ever. It's Little Mac is the champion. Yami Yugi, myself, is in the finals. And we're going back and forth, back and forth. And for the first time ever, the champion retained and beat me. So I'm feeling like, oh, I didn't do it. ALA comes around. It's like, oh, because we're only doing like 3-4 shows a year. So this is like very, very scarce. But I'm thinking about it for like all year. I'm like, oh man, what could I have done differently?
Dude, I feel that when I lost the yen in the vaults. Like, I feel that. Being the first person to lose the yen in the vault, man. My brother, I'm right there with you, man.
I'm with you, bro. But speaking of yen in the vault, ALA comes around in January. And it's Little Mac can't come to SoCal, so it's going to be for the very first Yen in the Vault briefcase. And I enter as Yami Yugi. I'm like, I got to get my win back. I got to get a second chance. And I end up winning the show, so I get the briefcase. So the briefcase basically says, at any show ever, you can just use this briefcase to automatically insert yourself into the second round, if not the finals. But I think it let's just say second round. But you get a really big entrance. They make it a really good entrance for you to like really stick out. Fanime in May happens.
I love this story so much.
I go to Fanime, and I'm rooming with G and our photographer Sparks McGee. Shout out to Sparks McGee. And I don't tell anyone that I am at that con. No one knows that I am there, except the people who are in charge. So what happens is there's several times throughout the con where I see Robert, one of our big guys, walking towards us on the street. I immediately turn around and run the other direction. Our Little Mac, I'm just chatting with a guy at the Giant Jenga, sitting down, chatting with a random guy, and I see our Little Mac, who's wearing the bell at the time in cosplay, kind of giving me the look, because I'm in just regular street clothes, by the way. And I still wear glasses at the time because I've had LASIK. And he starts to like, but it's a giant Jenga set, so there's like giant square, so he doesn't walk like straight towards me. He has to like walk around. So when he gets to here, I'm over here, and I say, oh, I'm sorry, and I book it this way. So the whole time there's like several like close calls. And then finally, at Fanimania 3, the show's going on live. It's a 2-hour show. I'm in my hotel room in cosplay holding this briefcase. And an hour goes by, and Ken, who's supposed to be like giving me live updates of like, hey, who's up? It's like, okay, we're still in round 1. I'm like, are we there? We got 3 more left. At that point, I walked out, and I'm waiting outside the doors, and no one knows except the people on the desk that I'm gonna be there.
This is incredible.
And then, okay, so you didn't know this before. No. So round 1 happens. They announced like 3 or 4 people who make it to round 2. It's like Reality. It's Gyro Zappelli with Joseph Joestar. It's Mario, and I think that might be it. There might be one more. Oh, there is one more. I won't say. Then they introduced the champion, and it's Little Mac. He gets his big entrance. He has like a pink tracksuit. He tears it off. He grabs the mic. All right, this year was great. But I got injured. I worked hard and then my music hits, and he's like,
they did not.
Everyone is looking behind where the entrance happens, but I enter through the top left doors where the regular people enter, and I walk slowly through those doors, and I lock eyes with Efren, and this is probably the moment in my life where time stood still when we locked eyes when I walked slowly into that room. Because the entire crowd's looking behind, but he's looking at me dead in the eyes. And then it's Giyu, who our Mr. He's like, who is that? And he points where I'm standing, and the crowd's like, what? And I walk up to the front of the stage where Efren is. We're butting heads, like head to head. He's raising the belt. I'm raising the briefcase. And then he walks away. I cut basically a round 1 promo. Round 2 happens. I make the finals. Back forth. I cut like the pro of my life. I win the belt. I'm like raising the briefcase and the championship in both my hands, screaming like, yeah, I did it. Like, freaking end of Rocky 2. And the crowd's like just going nuts. And yeah, it's hard to top that one.
That is
I actually
incredible. Oh my God.
I actually want to add to that year because for Fanime, I work stage 0. And so me and Mr. Wendell, we're just there in the back. We're in the background or in backstage, and we're just looking at the crowd. And then we see Daniel walking across. And we're like, oh, really? What? And then we look at each other, and we're like, oh, no. Also, mind you, so this is way back when. Before we had that, we had the a small clause where we didn't reveal anything to anybody as far as who's going in as who and what's going to happen until the day of, until like our 30-minute prep time before the show happens.
Yeah, so you could just be there waiting, and it's like all of a sudden Robert walks in, and he's just like, oh, he has body paint. He's being Blanca from Street Fighter, and you don't know that until he shows up like 30 minutes before the show.
Yeah,
we've changed it since because it makes things a little easier to communicate, and also it's easier for it's helped the overall show flow, and I feel like that may have been the instance where we changed that.
Yeah,
that was like the leading reason. Favorite moment of CWF is that one.
That is insane. Like, that is one of the coolest things. Like, I didn't think there was ever like an actual surprise cash in CWF with the way like the format was set up and everything.
Yeah, no, it was.
That's
and
incredible.
Also, unfortunately, that was also the time that we didn't have any recordings.
Like
we haven't recorded.
Oh, that was the recording of that one?
Yeah, I can show it. I can go right now. It wasn't CWF recorded, but there was another person who recorded, and it's online. I can show you after this.
I would say yes. Send that to me. I would love to see that because that's incredible. Oh my God. That's damn. Okay, well I know it's not going to top that, but what's your favorite moment not including you? I know it's not going to be better than what you just said because that's golden. That's now my favorite CWF moment. And I didn't even know what CWF was back then.
Yeah. Favorite moment that I wasn't part of. Honestly, a lot of the older stuff is better with nostalgia glasses. I want to say when Pikachu Libre won the Blackout belt.
Nice. Oh,
okay.
That was the Guzma.
I think that was my
Guzma match.
That was the Guzma match where with no, that was not. That was He had to beat Guzma to get to the finals to finally beat Matashita for the belt. Because that was Matashita finally lost the belt. Matashita basically was the original owner of the Blackout belt and would never defend it. And that's the whole thing, is that eventually he finally defended it. And our Pikachu Libre had been in CW. Me and Pikachu Libre, I won't say their real name, but we debuted at the exact same show, ALA 2015. So we had kind of been like, same show, same uprising, we're like back and forth. And I was like, man, it would be so cool if they won this. It'd be so cool if they won this. And I'm like, I'm behind, because at this, I have like a special I think I did the first like mid-match sort of thing. Like there's a show, like the show's regular show's happening, and then there's like a little intermission match, it's like 5-10 minutes, and then there's like the rest of the show. And eventually we broke that off into we're going to make a day 2 sort of thing, or a day 1 sort of thing.
Yeah.
My thing was basically Jotaro Kujo versus Oni Aries in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and that got a lot of that was so cool because we had SPW guys in the background, and the first match was, what was the first match? It was a staring contest. Like it was 2 out of 3 falls. It was a staring contest, and then he pokes me in the eye, and then he's like, "Whoa, what happened? What happened?" It's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. This was a no disqualification staring contest. Winner of the first fall is Oni Aries." And then second match was rock, paper, scissors. So I'm like, rock, paper. I punch him with an aura. I go for a second one. He like puts his hand like this, and I switch to scissors. And basically, so he blocks with his like this, and I switch to scissors at the last second when he says, "Shoot." And so I'm like, scissors cuts paper, Jotaro Kujo wins the second fall. And in the recording, I can hear the SPW guys who are just like going nuts for that. And then the third was basically just you know your basic CWF back forth a couple times sort of thing. You know, Jotaro comes out on top. But the end of the show was Matt Ishida versus Pikachu Libre. It's, I guess, I had never wanted a person up to that point to win a show more than that moment there. So I was like, I was Jotaro in the back, like, "Come on, you can do it." I was so excited. And he's like, as soon as I heard that they made the finals, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Nice.
And I guess there may be others that are even better. Just that's the one that comes to mind, like right this second. A lot of nostalgia for that one.
Gut instinct.
I do want to chime in on counts. I want to chime in on that as well. So the show before that show, that was another Fanimania. That was a Fanimania where Pikachu Libre first came on, and they did their promo. However, the crowd was just not having it, and they were 100% against her. And I remember because I had another entry in there that was a complete flop, and I admit it was a complete flop. And it just in general, that the Fanimania crowd is really, really rough in as far as how they are and who they push. And Pikachu Libre had had a really good entrance, and their partner was also there trying to help them. But unfortunately, the crowd wasn't having it, and they after the show they broke down crying because it was just.
I remember this now. You bring it up because I remember that was the show that I think was won by Mario for the first time, who won the heavyweight belt.
Yeah,
and I'm Jotaro. That was the first show I was Jotaro. And while everyone's cheering Mario like he was about to win, I'm sitting there next to Rachel, comforting them. Just as and you're a winner and new heavyweight champion. I'm on the ground, next to them curl up in a ball. It's making them feel it happens.
Yeah, I've heard that the Fanime crowd, although they've lightened up over the years, they can be pretty brutal. So.
Yeah,
Fanime can be really brutal. ALA likes crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Fanime will either love or hate you, and AX is just kind of I would call it the normie crowd.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
They're kind of respectful to whatever you see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also the other thing about the Fanime crowd is they love their dommy mommies as well.
That they do. They do.
That is actually a really good segue to the next. You okay with the one other question?
Yo, Azure, we're killing these
of course,
segues,
let's do one
bro.
more.
We're killing these segues, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All according to plan.
My boy.
Anyways, what are some of the challenges that you faced when performing or when hosting a CWF show?
When hosting, the hardest part of hosting, for me, hosting comes natural. For ALA this past year, I felt like I did a really awesome job hosting the whole show. from start to finish. My point is, I want to get everyone in the room as soon as possible. So that when they get chat, energy goes excitement. So I'm like, I'm just gonna cut 8. We have 10 minutes. I'm gonna cut 8 minutes just like explaining what you missed last night. I basically just cut a basically like last time on CWF to talk about everything and basically the importance of the belt and like, you know, this happened last night and like why the heavyweight belt's important, like what's Supernova, like all the other belts like mid card. This is like the big one that everyone's fighting for tonight. I felt I did really good at that. I also like to, you know, the storm is coming. That wasn't.
I love that.
I just did that. I like to add a little flavor text for you.
Yeah.
Or like for Mr. L. I'm like, oh, I know exactly how I'm going to do this. So Mace Hughes entrance plays, and because I knew that Mace Hughes intro was going to play, and then at the very end, right when it would say Mace Hughes, it cuts to like record scratch like Mr. L like graffiti. Then it cuts to his intro. So what I did without any prompt was I'm like, I know how to really make this stick. I'm doing like, oh, he's here. He's here from last night. I'm doing the full entrance for Mace Hughes and finally like, he is, and then that's when the spray paint happens. So I'm like weighing in. Yeah, I think that was pretty good. So I'm really good at doing stuff like that. The hardest part of hosting, especially at this show, is cutting down from round 1 to round 2. Not everyone can make that. Not everyone can make round 2.
Especially
round
when
3 is easier because at that
so
point
good.
it's an yes. Because we had 19, a record, and even I'm just like, I think that was way too many people for 19 people. Like we didn't cut anyone. If you applied on time, you got into the show. It was so difficult. So I said, guys, with 19 people, we have to make a lot of cuts for round 2 because we got to fit this show in a 2.5 hour time slot, and we also want to make sure the audience isn't just dead. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut down to 6, and I'm making 7, and I know a couple of people were like upset they didn't make round 2. Like one person was like very upset, and I feel really bad because they really haven't spoken to me since. But you know, in the end, it is a show, and it's like like Lachey says, the final word is always mine, and when making it to the second round is this, and I'm like, I can only have so many people. That's the hardest part.
And it's kind of unfortunate that they're taking it that seriously because like when it comes down to it, like we all like. My only goal is to have a good time and put on a good show for like everybody. And I think I told you after the show because you guys messed with me. Like I know it's easy, it's easy to say because I ended up winning at the ALA show, but I didn't even think I made it to round 2 because you guys are calling up names and I'm like, oh god, yeah, they got a loud pop. Oh god, they had a loud pop. Because you called up 7 people for round 2 if I remember correctly.
We called up 7 people for round 2, and we knew that it was Stig and Shadow were like the top 2 at that point.
Yeah.
And we were going to go ahead and be like, okay, we'll just have Shadow as like the train.
So I don't know if I had mentioned this or not, but by the time like you had called when you called the 6th person up, I took my wig off, and I took my wig off, and I was like, I didn't even make round 2. I'm just gonna enjoy the rest of the show now because this thing is itchy. And then I was I was just kind of like, chilling, and all of a sudden, like, the crowd started chanting, and someone from behind me, one of the other performers behind me was like, dude, you need to stand up. So I'm like, I'm scrambling to put my wig back on as the crowd's going, we want Shadow. And I'm like, oh god. So I stand up, I'm trying to get back into character, and I'm like, thinking to myself, oh god, I guess I did make it.
Yeah, again, it was me.
Yeah.
It was
I was gonna let you say it was you.
Hey, get up. You need to get back in.
Yeah. So, but my point being is like I was already on the assumption that I wasn't even moving on to round 2, and I went into this. I know I talked to both of you about my promo going into this. That I felt super confident. I was all like, I had a round 2 promo ready because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make it like 100%. But then because everybody put on such a good freaking show, I was like, oh well, I guess I'm not making it. It'd be like that sometimes, like. I don't.
And for round 2 for this one,
I don't.
There were 4 options that we had. Mm-hmm. Like, I honestly, I'll say that my favorite entry for everything that he said was Don Corneo.
Yeah,
I
Don did
love
awesome.
Don Corneo so much. Every second that he was on stage, every quip, every insult was awesome.
That's probably his
Shadow
best
the Hedgehog.
performance.
Yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog. Well, obvious.
Thank you.
The Stig, we're like, can this go all the way? And like the audience loves the Stig, they love Shadow. And then we're just thinking, do we just have Lashea turn heel and just put Jamie Gomes into the finals?
Oh my
and this would be like the full like this is like the Marvel's what if, CWF's what if Jamie Gomes.
So I actually talked to Chris about, or I actually talked to Stig about that, like after the show and everything, after you had said that, and we both were in 100% agreement that if y'all would have decided to put Jamie Gomes in the finals because of how bad he got booed, we would not have been, we would have been like, you know what, fair, because that was nuclear. Like, I didn't think anybody would come close to your heat that you get as American Goku, but oh my god, they were out for blood against Jamie Gomes.
They were.
I can think of another. I can think of another nuclear moment that happened, but we'll talk about that later.
The one of the major things for ALA that we did this year was for our champion, who was Parappa the Rapper, had to come up with 19 raps for people, and then even more for a final round. So I made a promise to them. The finals will be 1-on-1. I even said at the beginning of the show, the winner will be a 1-on-1 match. Because I'm just like, we're not doing any triple threats, no fatal 4-ways. The most I could have done, I was thinking about this because we were doing okay on time, was maybe like, I thought about it, but I never actually said it out loud to our other host at the time. There was one show where we had like a round 2.5, where basically we took our two highest people that were so close. At that point, it was a Reality and Freaky Fish Guy. And we said, okay, you two are going to have a couple promo-offs between yourselves.
I was in the audience for that show. I was in the audience.
Yeah.
That was AX 2016? No. 2017?
It was 2016. It was 2016 because that's the show I lost, is Yamayugi.
Yeah. I was in the audience for that show.
Yeah. But yeah. Where are we going with this?
Oh,
I think that's it.
Yeah. As far as hosting, that really is one of the biggest things to. It's that harsh feeling when you actually have to choose the people who go up into the semifinals, because really there are everybody who enters, whether it was you felt that you did bad or you did really great, you all do very, very good.
Oh, yeah.
And also you still have a really good crowd reaction, because again, the decision really is, it's 100% the crowd reaction of your entry.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets down to the wire of choosing who is going to be really, like, you have your obvious choices, but when it comes down to like the 5th to the 6th, or to those last 3 or so picks before we cut it off, that's where it gets hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh man, I had this happen at SakuraCon, because it was me and Star-Lord and Hollow going over all the entries like during the transition, and it's like, oh how do we really do this, because they all did really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, we have to give the slight nods. It's like, we'll give you the recognition afterwards, but here we got to do it this way. Don't hate me.
I don't.
So
envy,
in
I don't envy that aspect at all.
TLDR, 6 words. Hosting is easy. Judging is hard.
Yup.
There you go. That's a story in 6 words right there.
Yeah.
So Daniel, we have if you still have some time, we have one more question for you.
One more question, sure.
All right. So as far as performing and as hosting, what's your favorite aspect of being a performer and your favorite aspect of being a host? Like, what do you enjoy doing the most out of those?
Oh gosh, there's a lot that comes out of both of them. Like, I really, really enjoyed hosting as Mr. Budokai for ALA because I like to make the crowd excited, build anticipation for what they're about to see. And since I basically create almost everything behind the stage, like all the PowerPoint, that's me. The Titantrons, that's mostly all me. Like all this stuff that like in between stuff, that's me. But me at the laptop, I'm at full control. I know exactly what every slide's going to be. I know exactly what the cues are, what music's going to hit. I know everything involved when I'm at the desk. So that's easy for me. What was the question?
What's your favorite aspect of performing in CWF as a performer and as a host?
Yeah, I guess I really like building the anticipation and getting the crowd excited for what they're about to see, because I know that they're gonna be super excited. I just love being excited. Like Mr. Budokai is basically just, it's kind of just me. It's kind of just Daniel, because I'm really excited for them to see what's up. Because you and I have hosted a show called like The Price is Nice before.
Yeah, I had a ton of fun doing that.
Price is Right. Yeah, it's like a Price is Right parody show, but almost done 1-to-1. That's basically just me hosting as that. The only difference is that I'm just more excitable. I'm just cranked up. It's like what The Rock says. Like it's basically just him cranked up to 11. I'm not cranked up to 11, but it's more like I'm just excited. It's basically just me on stage in a yellow wig and sunglasses. I basically get to be myself, and I'm in full control because I'm doing like all the stuff behind the scenes. Quick aside, I was going to talk about this earlier. Titantrons, I made that happen for CWF.
Yeah.
By not telling G.
G, if you ever watch this, we're not apologizing.
Queen City Anime Con 2021 happens. There's 6 or 7 of us there. And I'm like, we are guests who are flown out from California to go to North Carolina for this show. I want something on that screen that's not just there. So I basically said, I'm going to do the most basic thing, like a cool graphic in the background that's like changing the song that plays and the name of the person. Lashea Decree is the original one that I made. That's like the original one for Lashea Decree. I haven't changed anything about that one. That's like one, that is like the OG one. And we just play it forever. It's just that circling background of like, money and like the Metropolis area, the song and the fancy font. I made it for every single person. And I showed every single person at the show, except for G, would this be okay for you? And he said, yes. And then finally, the last person I go to is G. And I say, hey, G, I made this. And I show him one by one the Titantrons. He's like, alpha, beta Titantrons. And I'm like, can we please use this to add another layer? He's like, well, if everyone else is okay with it, then I guess we'll just do it. I mean, you've already
Oh, man, that's amazing.
And that was the birth of the Titantrons in CWF. For those unfamiliar with Titantron, it's just the background video that plays, that lays you to the stage. It's the video with your entrance music and like your name on it. They call it Titantron because in WWE it was just the giant screen. That's what they call the Titantron.
They call it the Titantron.
Yeah.
Larry has the best Titantron ever of all time, by the way. It's just white text with black Times New Roman font that just says Larry with a period.
Wait, hold on. You got it backwards. It's a black background with white text.
Right. That's right. Black background, white text. That's right.
Yeah.
So funny, dude.
Bold. The most basic font for everything. Larry, period. It was no music.
It was so generic. And you entered from the crowd. You were sitting in the crowd and you just stood up. It was so great.
Yeah, well, hold on, Spork. The mechanical keyboard didn't come in until Fanimania. So because if
you added a mechanical keyboard at Fanime, that's amazing.
Okay, yeah.
My there was an evolution for Larry's Titantron that I wanted to do if he retained. So yeah, his original was it was just no music, just one slide, Larry. The second time he enters, it would be the sound of the sound of keyboard typing. And then the third evolution would be the sound of a water cooler bubbling in the background.
That's too much. You got to bring it down, man. You're up here. I need you to bring it down here. You're getting too hyped for us.
I mean, right now Larry's kind of on he's on his PTO right now, but yeah.
What about
deserves it. Yeah.
What about favorite aspect as a CWF competitor?
Oh, just the thrill of being there for the crowd.
Yeah.
Like, I just love performing on stage and get the cheers, because most of the time when I go up there, I'm ad-libbing. A lot of people have their own things. I don't really have many plans. Like, the things I remember, like, I can recall the things I have remembered, and I can recall those by memory. Like, the ABCs of Skeletor is probably the only thing where I actually remembered what I did. The Takahata thing it's an entirely different thing, because that was like, I was in control 100% of that.
Yeah.
But in terms of like just performing as like a competitor, when this ALA happened for Dr. Robotnik, because we want to have a tag match, we want to have the Hedgelords, and our buddy who is Doofenshmirtz really wanted to be, and he was asking everyone, like, hey, can you be a partner? And then no one was just jumping up, and then probably 6 weeks go by, and it's crunch time, trying to like finalize everything. I'm like, okay, yeah, I will jump in as Dr. Ivor Robotnik. I will jump in on this, and we will come up with the idea as soon as I'm done with the Taka stuff, which was 2 days before the con. So I finished Taka 3 days before the con, and 2 days before the con, we're just like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna freeze when I said we got the Chaos Emerald. I'm gonna freeze on stage for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I get a random. So I get a message from Daniel. And he's just like, "Hey, do me a favor. We're gonna do a thing, and we want you to no sell it." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "We're gonna try to do chaos control, and we want you to no sell it." I'm like, "I'm gonna be honest with you. I was gonna do that anyway." And he's like, "Perfect." And I'm like, "Is this like a bit?" And he's like, "No, just no sell it. Don't worry about it. We got the rest." And I'm like, "All right, dude, whatever, man." And that was the thing. Snap out of it.
The thing. Okay. And we won the tag belts with that.
Yep.
And the other thing was just like, okay, we know the Snap Cube, the giant. I've come to make an announcement.
Eggman's
it's a very, very R-rated promo. But I'm like, okay, so I'm like, we got to do that, but because everyone's expecting us to do that, so I'm like, what are we gonna do? The PGinator. And it was the one time I was allowed to cheat in CWF. It was the one time I was allowed to write down the promo on an index card that was given to me that I could just read verbatim. It was like, I can't remember all of this, and the Taka, and showrun, and be the host of ALA.
I thought I was bad.
But,
I thought I was bad trying to memorize my 3 promos and the freaking Hughes Mr. L stuff on day 1.
Yeah,
but most of the time I'm just ad-libbing, and I just love the live theater aspect. I love the cheers. I love the boos. I just love performing on stage in front of a crowd. I love the entrance. I just love everything about CWF, and I want to keep doing it.
Do you like getting cheered more or booed more?
I guess
if you have it,
as long as they are chanting what I want them to chant, it's all the same to me.
That's fair.
Whether they're chanting Skeletor, not my Goku, Ora, King of Games. If they're basically doing what I want them to do, that's what gets me, and that's what I want to happen. And if I do that, then I know that I've been successful in what I wanted to do.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah. And that is my motto for CWF. As long as the crowd is doing what you want, then you know that they're having a great time.
There you go. You love to hear it.
Yeah.
Daniel, this has been awesome, dude. This has been great. This has been great. Thank you. A personal thank you to bringing me into the CWF. This has been the most fun I've ever had at any con and stuff like that. So having you on, Azure and I talked about it, and we had a list of like 4 or 5 people that we wanted to be on as our first guest, and you were definitely one of the first people we thought of. So thank you very much for hopping on with us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I'm still mad at you for taking away my tag team championships. I could have, I could have replaced the sword on the wall with my 3rd belt, but you know.
You just, anytime, probably going to be Fanime. Don't know. There might be a line, but, I'm sure that, we can get this happening. And GFN's right around the corner. But I don't think because my part is in NorCal. Again, the team, it was a tag team that was just like, let's just throw this in there. Let's just throw this to the wolves and be like, okay, we just got to make the match happen. Oh, we won. Oh,
dude, that's what happened with the Hedgelords. That's what happened with the Hedgelords. Freaking Virgil was like, "Hey, I got this idea for a bit, but we're probably not going to win with it. Do you want to do it?" I'm like, "I'm down. It sounds hilarious." So it's crazy how that works. But yeah, no, seriously. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Asher.
I was just gonna say, literally, like, winning and losing is just, it's all part of the bits. Like, you don't know if you're gonna win, you don't know if you're gonna lose. It's just that's just the beauty of it. It's like, because I just want to chime in for Larry that I never expected Larry to actually go completely over.
Dude, I told you before the show you were going to win when you said you were doing Larry. I called that as soon as you said, I'm like, oh, you win 100%. Especially when you said everything else. Dude, come on, man. You're the only one who didn't believe.
It was the fact that you were completely committed to the deadpan character and you never broke. You never broke. I'm there as Frankie round 2, like, you got this. I give you like my sunglasses, and you're just like,
this man wins the title and doesn't even crack a smile. Like, it was amazing. He wins the title. He's just like, thank you very much. Like, oh my god. All right.
Yeah, and it's just fun, and it's also hard because just not being able to smile and just not giving in to the internal screams that happen when you get handed the belt. It's like
right.
One small thing, I guess, to end on, just a little like Easter egg.
Yeah.
The CWF heavyweight belt has gone through many transformations over the years. The very first show, it was literally just the big gold belt. For WWE at the time, the World Heavyweight Championship, the one that Batista had and Edge had. It was just spray painted ALA. The next belt was it was like the toy you can get at like a Toys R Us or a Walmart or Target. The next belt was like a gold one that had like a couple W's designed by our Joseph Joestar. The next version was like, my personal favorite was called the Big Gold Belt. It was like gold, it was glitter, it had the silver CWF logo on it, had the Cosplay Wrestling Federation logo on it, and then eventually it became the silver one that you're holding. What happened to those belts?
Do you have the previous one still?
What happened to those belts?
I think Magumasa.
I think
Magumasa has them.
This here is the previous belt that we had. This is my personal favorite belt. This is the one I had as Skeletor for 3 years. And I am definitely the co-play wrestling champion.
The co-play.
The co-play.
The co-play.
Yeah. That's it for me.
Yeah.
Any last words on me?
No, just I appreciate you, man. Like, as a performer, I learned a lot from like watching your promos as well too. Well, actually, for example, my final promo against Parappa was the 1, 2, 3s of Shadow, to where I counted down from 10 with a different line on each one, and that was directly inspired by the ABCs of Skeletor. And you're just a bro, and I'm sorry we haven't done Yu-Gi-Oh in the last couple weeks.
we play. Me and Eddie play Yu-Gi-Oh all the time. Rico and I are like been friends for a while. We were Sans Papyrus for a while, and we'll be doing. Fanime, I'll be at stage 0. We'll be stage 0 there.
Yeah,
you will.
That's gonna be
you will.
It's gonna be my very first Fanime defending. Actually, very first Fanime and very first singles title defense. No, my very first singles title defense is actually the week before at Comic-Con Ontario. I'm going to be defending my Supernova Championship as Shadow the Hedgehog, and then a week later at Fanime defending as Shadow the Hedgehog. And I have every intent. I have every intent of walking out of Fanime being the very first person to retain at Fanime. So
that's right. There is an 0-9 record for retaining belts.
Yep.
At Fanime.
I have some momentum.
This is Fanime 10.
I have some momentum because I'm gonna brag a little bit. I am the first person to win 2 belts in the same show. And at ALA, I won the biggest roster that we've had. And so I'm going to make it 3, the third first, to retain at Fanime. And hopefully I have something, I have something in the back of my head that I think might work. But we shall see. We shall see.
We shall see.
But anyway, Daniel, I appreciate you coming on.
The story continues.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate you coming
Thanks
on,
for having me
brother.
guys.
Yeah.
I do want to actually give like my final words.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, like seriously, Daniel, as your tag team partner for Sans and Papyrus, I just wanted to say that I remember us trying to build that up. It's like, oh, hey, you want to? I think we have an idea for a tag team. It's like, oh yeah, let's do Sans and Papyrus. It's like, oh, wait, let me do some research. Oh my God, yes, let's do it. But we ran into so many like bumps because it's like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. And so Daniel had to look for like he wanted to see if there's like any alternatives. And then he's like, oh no, Azure, I really want you to be Sans. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna do it. Let's do it.
There you go.
And
I even basically, to make that happen, I hosted stage 0 to make sure that we had enough people that could do that. So I hosted stage 0 that year, hosted in the mornings, CWF in the evenings, hosted in the mornings, CWF in the evenings, hosted in the mornings, Glenn's panel. But yeah, I'm glad we got it. I'm glad it was successful.
You are a trooper.
Yeah.
You're a trooper.
Yeah. But it's just all time for fun, you know?
Yeah, dude. Is there anything you want to plug?
Not really. I guess the next con would be that I'm looking forward to is Fangia in San Diego. We've submitted, but we haven't officially been accepted yet. But they love us, and I'm pretty sure that they'll say yes. But should know that by maybe this time next week. I think it's February 15th is when they send out the confirmations, or sorry you didn't make it. But Fangia, if that happens, maybe Shadow can defend a belt. Who knows? Then we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. As for CWF socials, you can find us obviously on Twitch. We are also on YouTube, Cosplay Wrestling Federation. You can find us on Twitter at the CWF Network. We have talked about getting a Blue Sky. We will have one of those eventually. We will. We also have a Facebook page. You can find us Cosplay Wrestling Federation. We're all over the place. We are actually working on. We upload all of our shows to YouTube. Well, we upload all of our shows to YouTube, so you can already watch all those and stuff like that as well. So,
yeah.
Why don't you have a big social media presence? Daniel-san doesn't do social media.
I have a Facebook. I have a Facebook, and that's it. And it's basically just my name.
He has a Twitter, but
that's my.
Does he have a Twitter?
That's my biggest thing. I got to work
Twitter,
on.
and he's never touched on it.
I don't think I've ever posted once. I think I just have it just so I can view certain Twitter posts on mobile. Otherwise, it doesn't let you like scroll past like 4 and says, "Oh, please log in." I really need to work on that. That's probably like one of my biggest detriments. But 2025 is the year that Daniel finally gets a social media.
Let's go! One of us.
No.
Rico, we got to do our chant, my brother. My boy, My boy, my boy, my boy, my boy. Oh man! All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, Daniel. I am the Glorious Omni,
and I am Azure Mage. And also, just one more shout out in the chat. Shout out to Vivi-chan for watching us. Shout out to I'm Captain Brian. Thank you guys for
Vivi, you're brand new to the CWF universe. You want to jump on the podcast sometime? We'll get Vivi-chan. We'll get Vivi-chan. We both have VTuber models. We'll make it a VTuber podcast. We'll bring the dragon on.
Yeah. But no, and also shout out to everybody in the chat. We love you. We all love you. And
absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate every single one of you.
And whenever you see us at any of our shows, definitely come up, give us a watch, and then come up and just chat with us after the show too. We're all happy people.
Yeah, right.
Are we? Even though it's complete animosity on that stage, behind the scenes, we're all just like really supportive of each other. We just want if you succeed, the show succeeds, and we want everyone to have a good time.
We only hate each other in character.
Yep. And also, again, the important part.
So are we recording in 2 weeks?
Probably. Yeah. I believe we do have another episode in 2 weeks. We will keep everybody posted, and yeah. And
we'll
also,
we'll have another. Stay tuned to our socials. We'll let you know when we go live. Follow us right here. We'll let you know when the CWF Backstage Pass goes live again. And also, we do stream as many of our shows as we can to this Twitch channel as well too, so you can watch us live on Twitch as well.
And if you don't catch the Twitch and the VOD disappears, don't worry. We upload it onto the YouTube.
Cosplay Wrestling Federation on YouTube. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. See y'all next time. Deuces.
Later, everybody.
Catch you later.